Welcome to Lesson 14. We are going to be looking at web page sections today, because there's quite a few. But one of the things you need to get used to doing, especially if you're going to be doing web pages for a job, creating some big web pages for other people, it's also making sure that when a screen reader is used, or the browser needs to search your web page when other people are searching for certain information that hopefully will be in your web page, do you need to make sure that you've done certain things in a certain way? And one of them things is when you're designing your web page and you're creating the code, certain sections of your web page need to be within predetermined sections, also tags obviously, because everything's contained within a tag element. And there's so many tags that's been set up to predetermine certain information. Now, one of them tags we'll start off with is called the footer. Now, on the screen at the moment, I've created some code and I've created some CSS. We're not going to worry about the CSS for now because that's further down the line. This is just basically what we're putting on the screen. So what the HTML contains. So I'm just going to scroll to the bottom because the footer becomes at the bottom of web pages. So on the right hand side, I've created CSS to make it look like a bit more visible how you'd see it in a web page, like the sections. So again, don't worry too much about this. This is just an example. So if I just start at the top, so the top is where you normally have, say, your logo or your navigation bar, and then the main bit you view on the screen. So let's say we're just doing a very short web page that's just visible within the screen and no scrolling is required, say. So then you've got your main section. So the big main section is on your screen, and then inside that main section you can have information about your web page. It could be an article, and then you could also have this bar down the side, which we'll come on to in a minute. But then at the bottom, then you've got your footer, as seen here. So anything to do with your footer needs to go at the bottom of your HTML code and inside footer tags. So if you look on my code here, I've used the footer tag. I've only put one paragraph in it and I've just put footer in the element, but you'd put everything you need to know in your footer in the footer section. So when the browser's out there and the screen reader looking for information about your web page, it can see, okay, this is your footer and this is the information in there to do your footer, and it uses that information to do specific things, as other sections we're going to come to. So just remind that, and you can use other things, but you've got to get into this mentality of, okay, my footer section has to be inside a footer. My other sections have to be inside sets things. Not everything, and we'll come across that in a minute, but I'm just trying to get you used to typing, and when you start typing web pages now, get used to using these sections. Okay, so that's the footer covered, which is the most obvious. Now we're going to start at the top now, and at the top of most web pages, as I said, you can have a logo, you can have a navigation bar. So on this example, I've got my navigation bar to the right, which is mostly to the right on most browsers that you've seen. And then you'll have your list of anchors like home, contact information, about me page, and there'll be the links along here. All that sort of thing that links to your web pages or sections in your web page or other web pages. So anything to do with navigation, you should put in the nav bar. And for this, if I just scroll up, so you can see my nav section here. So there's a tag called nav, and I've just put nav for now, which appears in that box. But everything to do with the navigation will go in the nav section. So any links basically to sections on your web page or other web pages go in the navigation section. Now I'll put another one here, and this would be where I put my logo. You can have more sections, but I'm just using 2 for now in this example. Now there isn't a tag for the logo. You just use the image tag to display your logo, but there's no specific section for this to go into. So the universal section is called the div, and I would put my logo inside the div. Now you can have as many divs on the screen as you like. So, and you'll use nav quite a lot because it's the alternate section for your web pages. So I've got nav here, opening and closing, and again I've just got my paragraph tag. So where there's no set predetermined section for something, use the nav tag, as I've done here, and I will display my image in this section. And then I've created a section which I'm going to say is my main part of my web page, and there is a tag for this, and for this section it's called main, and in my code you just use the main opening tag, and then further down is my closing tag, and then everything to do with my main section I've put inside the main element. I've also gone ahead and inside the main I've got 2 sections. One I've actually called section, and another one is called aside. So you can have more than one section in your website. So I've created and used the section here, and in my code you can see it here. I've used the section element to put in these 2. One's a div, which I've mentioned before, and the other one's actually article. So for any articles that are in your web page, you use the article tag. And again, this will be a little bit of information about how welcome to our website or whatever, or an image, but for this I've just used a div. And then to the right of this, back in the main section, I've got aside, and this is anything that you want to list down the side of your web page. A lot of people use them for adverts now, or links, or sometimes you have a menu and it's on the left hand side, sorry. So those sections you should call aside. Yeah, don't worry too much, because I've obviously used CSS to make these the shape they are. So I've just made them the shape of how I would represent them on web page. My basic layout, I should say. So you can see I've got my header section, then my main section, and then my footer, and that's a basic web page. You'd sometimes have more information after the main page because you go on to different sections, but I'd only have one main section, and you could probably label the others section, or you could have more articles down your page, and you can carry having more asides down your page, and then you just have one footer at the bottom, and then you'd only have one header in your web page as well. And then mixed in with those where sections haven't got specific meanings predetermined, I'd use the div tag. The section tag is normally used where you've got inside the element like a paragraph, but it's got a header for that paragraph. So say you've got a H1 tag with a title, and then you've got a paragraph relating to that. You use the section to group that together, so that piece of information goes in the section. So moving on to just a few other tags that we haven't covered, and I'm just going to cover them now because we are getting towards the end of our tags list now. Now, one we haven't come across so far is the H group tag, and inside its element there it's for grouping headers and paragraphs that are related. So I've got H2 heading, So I'm just going to put forward, and then I'm going to just copy in a paragraph element. So basically I've got H2 element with the name Ford, and then underneath in the paragraph I've got Ford was a motor vehicle company founded in, with one N, 1863 by Henry Ford. So the H group is used to headings and paragraphs that are linked together. You can have more than one paragraph and you can use any of the headings, but the H group doesn't actually do anything in the browser unless you use CSS. But the H group was created to link that pieces of information together. So that's the H group and what you'd use that for. I'm just going to put on the board. So with a horizontal rule. So yep, so the information we put there with our heading, and then our information is just displayed as we'd expect it to do. But behind the scenes it is grouped in the H group. So that's the H group. The next one we're going to look at in this one. So we're going to use H1 tag. And this is the details element. So if we open the tag, close the tag, and inside that element we're going to use a summary. And there's an opening closing tag, but I'm going to leave it on the same line and just put forward in there. I'm going to use the same example as above. And I'm not going to say what it does yet. And I'm going to put the paragraph tag, and let's copy and paste exactly what we put above. And then save that and run that. So you'll see that before, when we did it using the H group, we just used the H2 and the paragraph and it displays the whole thing. With the details tag inside the element, you can use the summary tag that will then hide the information you've got for that summary tag. So what you put in summary will be displayed, but then there'll be this little arrow. And if you click this arrow, it will then open up the paragraph tag and display that information on the browser. So there's a different way of getting a bit of interaction with the user. So if you had a list of these and you different information, you could just save it as space and then just let the user click to open up and close it when they finish reading it. So there's another way of displaying some information within the details section, and then you use the summary tag to label that details. So I'm going to put the H1 so this is the dialog element, so I've just put that in a label. I've just put that in a header. So then I'm going to just put in a paragraph tag. I'm just going to put this is some text. It doesn't matter what I put in here, so I'm just going to put that in that paragraph, and I'm going to copy that a few times. Now after the second one, and let's just come in here, I'm going to use the dialog box, and it has an opening and closing. Now I'm going to put this is an open dialog window. And we've come across dialog boxes before where it's not part of your web page, but it's like a alert screen or Windows pop-up screen, whatever you want to call it. So let's just save that. And now notice now that we've got our H1 header, and then we've got our 4 paragraphs. Now we can't see this dialog box, so it's done all these paragraphs around it. Now what you have to do is, in the dialog you need to put Boolean, and the Boolean to make it visible is obviously open, so you need to open this dialog. So if I save that again, you then can see this box we created using the dialog box, and we've opened it now so it's visible, and then you got this message. Now these aren't things you'd use too much. These are like for when you're using some debugging or some alert or some news in your web page, and this needs to be interacted with JavaScript so that it can make it appear, disappear. There's normally a closing button as part of this as well, but this is mostly controlled. You wouldn't have this, you wouldn't use the dialog box as part of your web page structure. These are just things like error messages or a news update that you want popping up. And I'm going to create an unordered list, and I'm going to create a list, and I'm going to have a red box, and let's say green box, and let's say a blue box. Let's say I'm designing a web page for a box company. Now, okay, we might sell a red box, a green box and a blue box, but in the real world, one thing you can do on HTML is you can put in like an order number. So we use the data tag for that, and we can put in an attribute of value, and this can be the order number. Okay, so you have to put the, obviously you don't have to use lists, but I'm using list as an example, and then the data tab with the attribute of value for the order number, and then you have to put the label or the red box which is displayed on the screen or what the item's for. Close the data tag, close the list tag. So this is not something you'd probably use too much. It's not something I've ever used much. Forgot to use speech. There you go. Probably this auto correction just guesses all the time what you want to do, doesn't it? There you go. And then I've got the speech bubble there. So values have to go in strings. So if I save that, so you can see on our browser it's created our unordered list, and it's got our list items, red box, green box, blue box, but it doesn't display any of these values and stuff. This is for data processors, so anything or JavaScript or backend languages. So it's not something you need to worry too much in the early days of HTML, but you just need to know it's there for some kind of ordering system. But there are so many different ways to do ordering systems, and I've created websites to do with ordering stock and stuff, and I don't use data value. So coming down to the last one. So we did cover forms before in the previous thing, but one of the things I didn't quite cover. I'm just going to add it in here. So I'm using I've created a form. I'm creating an input field. I gave it a name of new search. I'm going to give it the ID of new search again for the ID. I'm going to put a placeholder, and basically a placeholder is information you want to put into the field, into the box, when the web browser first loads up. Now, on the top of most websites, especially order websites, you see a search bar, search style website, and the HTML side of it is quite simple. It's just basically an input box inside a form, and you give a placeholder of search. So when I run this, okay, you think, oh, got a search here, and I'm thinking, oh, let's find some shirts. But because everything else behind this is either JavaScript or back-end development like PHP, and then your databases and stuff. So the only thing HTML you need to know is what you display. It's not what happens behind the scenes, it's just the on-screen display. And that is all you need to do in HTML. So all I've done is created a box, and I put a placeholder of search so that you can type in something to search, but that's all you need to do. You know, you don't need to do the search inside HTML. That is for another day, another language, to interact with that search box. Hope that's quite clear. So everything you've learnt so far is just about what the screen displays, what goes on. You don't need to know what goes on in JavaScript, CSS at this point. It's just about get it on the screen. Doesn't matter how it looks like. Doesn't matter what happens with code down the line. It's just what you want to display on the screen, and that's what HTML is. So there's one last thing I'm going to cover in this lesson, but I'm just going to delete just everything up to, just get rid of everything in the body for now. So that's that. Let's just refresh the browser so that's got. So there is something else to cover. So let's just put some stuff in here. Let's say sponge cake, and let's just get our image from a previous lesson and just get that on the screen. So the image source, Victoria Sponge, and there he is. Just give it simple there. Let's width equals pixels. Oh. Let's say now there is another tag that we can use, and it's a container to hold some HTML content that is hidden when the page first loads up. Now the template can be rendered with JavaScript at a later date, so this can be displayed. This could be put inside a template, and when the page loads up it wouldn't be there, but JavaScript would display it for us. And it's also a good idea if you want to use it more than once. So a template is a good idea to use if you want to use some code over and over again in your document. So let's go ahead. So if we just place this within the template. So we place the opening tag first. And then we put the content of our template inside, which is header and the image of the sponge. And then we close off that template. If we load up, it obviously doesn't appear. So I've just chucked in some JavaScript here, and all this is doing is basically what you'd find in JavaScript to display the content. So don't need to know what this is doing. So, but basically I've also added a button which should appear in the browser. So if you click the button, it obviously shows the template element and all the contents. And if you do it again, it will display it again. So this is useful if you want to display things more than once. So you just create it in HTML using the template. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If I could ask a favour to help support this new channel, that you hit that subscribe button and then select all on the bell for future videos that are coming out. And then I'd appreciate if you also hit the like button. This will help the channel grow, and then I shall carry on doing videos as I know they're being watched and appreciated. And then, so this is the website that I've created to help with this course. You obviously see it's BF Creations. Down in the download section, you'll see that there are some download sheets. And simply for each one, you just click on the download and it will appear up in the corner, and it will download to your PC or laptop or whatever you're using. I hope these are helpful. Leave comments in the videos as well so I can make improvements. Tell me what you think. Hope it's all been easy to follow and I appreciate it. Thanks for watching this video, and I shall see you in the next one. On this course, they are released every Tuesday evening, so hopefully you'll follow along, and clicking that bell will help get notifications of that. So thank you very much, and thank you for watching.